all together now. You're not going on a summer holiday, at least not for another year or two. Welcome to the Rebel Moon No Nonsense podcast, folks. Well, guys, what can we say? Once again, we find ourselves in one of the futures that we talked and forewarned about ages ago. And that's the one where we've been trying to point out a major flaw in Boris Johnson and his circus freaks. That being that he and his band of clowns and misfits are compulsive liars. Now, there's nothing new about the creatures in suits lying to the public. They do it for a living because they're professional liars. That's what they get paid for. But they know how to lie without being caught in most times. And it's an old tactic, really, where they mix the truth with lies. That's how they're, quite hard to catch out sometimes. But when they do get caught out, they have to start backpedaling fast and then attempt to salvage their tattered reputations. But when it comes to Boris Irreversible Johnson, it's something else. He just lies and he lies and he lies. And worst of all, he really doesn't give a monkey's whether we know it or not. And in fact, it's almost as if he's trying his damnedest to get fired so he can spend more time with his new wife and his baby, Chucky too. And I can't remember exactly how many times we tried to warn the blinkered masses about extended lockdowns. I mean, what is it, guys? 8, 9, 10, 11? I don't know. I've lost track. Because it is hard to keep track over a period of 16 months. However, it does tell us something about the mental state of the population. That rather than listen to sources with track records, and there's quite a lot of them out there who've been warning and warning about these extensions, I'm only one of them, but rather than listen to them who nail future outcomes correctly, time after time after time again, the majority of the blinkered masses will either prefer to be lied to, or they still haven't sussed out the bleeding obvious yet. Proving once again that forewarnings about dangers that lie ahead are futile in this day and age. And we're talking serious dangers like hidden agendas, things that change people's lives. And I wouldn't mind, or remember, when you hide an agenda, it's because they know that the public will not accept it. That's why they sneak it in. Again, doing the old breadcrumb, until you're in a situation where the agenda is revealed and you can't do much about it. And we are on the brink of that now. We're all sort of getting a step too far ourselves. It's time that people woke up and pulled back. I mean, look, when they've been warned and warned, I wouldn't mind, but it's not as if we're dealing with the cryptic quatrains and Nostra Bloody Damus here. We spend great lengths of time, and one quatrain can you know what I mean? You can translate it to many different things that's happened. It's not as if we're doing that. We're talking about the immediate future, which means we don't really have to wait long to see if a projected outcome is right or wrong. You say, well, in the beginning of the month, well, it was last month when I said, forget June 21st, it won't open. It's not going to open. Don't be silly. Don't listen to these fools. If you do, then it's time that you started really thinking and open your eyes to what's going on. So here we are, umpteen weeks later, with another warning under our belt, but ignored nevertheless. And any of you guys out there that tried warning people yourself, you will understand how they simply kind of blank you out. However, I also mentioned, and this is why I'm mentioning this particular lockdown. Usually we just say, well, we told you so, let's move on. But the reason I'm mentioning this particular one is because I said when Boris reversed his irreversible easing of restrictions, it would be a step too far for the British public. So now, what we have to do, we'll have to see what occurs with the backlash. And again, even though he said it over the weekend, it was like Monday when it was released, not weekend, because he doesn't want people to get together and go on the streets. He's buying himself another week, because it's usually weekends, but I've got a feeling people will be on the streets before that, because there's so many people out of work. And I'm surprised he's got this far. I mean, he's done a good job, let's face it, credit where it's due. I mean, he's been leading people on for 16 months now. How the bloody hell he's got away with that? So he's going to have to pull something extraordinary out of the bag to convince the seething public. because they're beginning to see what we've been saying for months. There is no summer holidays abroad, and at this rate there might be no summer holidays at home either if it keeps going on. You see, the golden question is now, will the public just moan and complain, or will they say, enough's enough, we're going to do something about it? Will the downtrodden masses simply shrug their weary shoulders patiently and wait another 6 weeks, like good little sheeple, only to be told after 6 weeks we need another 6 weeks? Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, just like I said. Then you'll be in August, September, and then there'll be other ones closing you down for Christmas. But let's concentrate on this, because I don't think it's going to get that far. Something's going to happen. Now let's backtrack a few months when I said the restriction easing was a con to quell a growing public anger. Not just public, I mean, this is coming from businesses as well. You know? See, and what they do, they'll cancel it, then breadcrumb the nation into a summer lockdown. Now remember when I said that? A wild claim, they said. You've lost the plot. Okay. Well, guys, guess what day it is next Sunday? It's the summer solstice already. June the 20th to be precise, the summer solstice. And that means that we are officially halfway through the calendar year. See how time flies? It's 1.5 years gone, locked up. It'll also mark the second summer of lockdowns. And if people don't say enough is enough, then the lockdowns will just keep on continuing indefinitely. And I'm sick of repeating that one. People will get it, but we need them to get it before it's too late. And as I mentioned last time, there are unelected elements in the Johnson government who are making these decisions for him. He is being told what to do. Even people who've known him for a long time have said it. He is incapable of making decisions. He gets the idea, then he gets somebody else to do it for him. He doesn't actually roll his sleeves up and get stuck in himself. So he's just winging it. And one of whom confirmed about a long time agenda, hidden agenda, to make masking and social distancing permanent. Now that's all coming out as well. You know how many times can people laugh at you, and then after you prove right, they go, oops. You know, when are they going to listen? I don't know. But after all, it just seems like they're making excuses up now as they go along, because they can keep inventing new strains for decades and decades to come, forever. And indeed, that is exactly the plan. So it's no longer a conspiracy theory or a rumour, because they themselves, in suits, are telling us. They're telling us now what they're doing. And Boris Johnson is fully on board with it. You heard him. Chanted the WF mantra in front of the TV cameras about building back better. They all say that. And when they're talking about these leaders, when they say build back better, they're talking about the global reset. People think they're talking about, the virus vaccines, and all the damage will build it back better. They're not. This is all about the global reset. But what they're talking about is the new norm that they keep trying to foist upon people. And like I said, wearing masks forever, social distancing forever. But he also repeated the vaccinate the world mantra, and all the puppet leaders repeat that like damn parrots, so we know which camp he's from, because these are words straight out the Bill Gates camp and the World Economic Forum. And remember, this stuff is a distraction, while things are quietly put in place behind the backs of an unsuspecting public. And soon, you may begin to notice they have started doing it. They've been doing it for quite a while, but very, very little. But you're going to see them start pumping up the rhetoric, and you're going to notice how they'll start linking this mystery bug, the damage it's done, to the climate change programme, which in turn leads to the global reset, which is their ultimate goal. And you can see them linking it up now, and you think, what has that got to do with this? But they're doing it anyway. And let's think now, if this global thing is achieved, it's check and mate for our freedom. End of story. There is no ifs and buts. And that's when the breadcrumb track clang shut behind the bewildered public who say, bloody hell, how did that happen? Duh. It happened because you didn't pay attention. You're walking around with blinkers on because you don't want to see the truth. But it's not good telling them that. They know what the score is. Anyway, meanwhile, as we guess, the 21st of June, Freedom Day, has indeed been cancelled before we even get there. And I already explained last time that he would be taking orders off somebody at the G7, like the rest of them. And despite his promises, he will be told to keep locking us down. And I wish the masses would use the noggin and start thinking for themselves for once, because this latest breadcrumb is billed as a short 4-week delay. But we're not even there yet. So it's actually pushed Freedom Day back for another 5 to 6 weeks. It's taken us now right into summer. During that time, another strain will inevitably pop up. You know the score. You don't need me to tell you or anybody else to tell you this anymore. It's just that we've got to keep saying that to other people until we wear them down. Then they say, yeah, I think there is something in this. This is interesting because, as I mentioned, I have a sneaky feeling Boris has now well and truly stepped over the line. I think he's pushed his luck too far with the British public. I really do. So he's going to get a rough ride from here on in until he capitulates and backs off. That's what they do these things for, test the public. If the public keep accepting them, they will keep pushing them. It's only when the public say enough's enough, that's when they start backtracking. So, like I said, he will need an army to enforce another summer lockdown, especially during this nice weather that is coming in. But they're going to try it nevertheless. And this virus, like I said, will only stop when the people stop it. The public. That's when it'll stop. They could stop this next week if people get together and say enough's enough, and if you don't get your act together, I'm sorry, we're going to call an emergency election, because it's going to be mass disobedience until then. No mask wearing, no social distancing, and then they're talking to themselves. But the public, it'll only stop when the public stops it. Trust me on that one. A lot of you guys know that anyway. And meanwhile, the suits and their unelected expert pseudo-scientists, or whatever the hell these people are, will plan and plot and conspire to keep it going forever. Except for them, because they're exempt, they're special, and they're carbon-free as well, so they can still travel. Well, we've seen them doing it, haven't we, at G7. When the lockdowns gathered momentum back in 2020, I said there was a danger that politicians would get a little bit too fond of their newly found power, and it's looked like they have done. Because I said if they do, they would be very reluctant to relinquish that power, especially when they don't have to comply with everybody else. And we saw a blatant display of that at the G7, where every single one of them, these so-called elite politicians, broke the distancing and mask rules numerous times, every single one of them. And like I said, that where the Merkel stayed, sounds like they brought the COVIDs in. That hotel had to be shut after and deep cleaned. Like I said, they're the super spreaders while they're blaming us for doing it, and we can't go anywhere. So it's a clear demonstration of the one law for thee and another law for me, because I'm special. So do as I say, not do as I do. Now go away, you little peasant. That's it. That's what they're saying to you. The masses have to change their lifestyle habits so the few don't have to. That's very fair, isn't it? Are you sure we're in 2021, you guys? Because I don't know. It's as if we're going back to the feudal system days, as I've said before. We're being reduced back to peasants, while the rich promote themselves to the lords of the manor. And meanwhile, something, I think I'll sit back and watch a wave of anger at old bumbling Boris and see what occurs. Oh yes, well, but it's only for another 4 weeks, and if somebody says, are you going to promise, you said irreversible. Well, I haven't reversed it, I'm just extending the social distancing and the mask. Yeah, well, because they have to do that, it needs to be in forever. Anyway, it's going to be a fun week. He's timed it on a Monday, so I've got a feeling there'll be people marching about. But I think come weekend, I think you're going to get a massive retaliation against this government, and they're going to have to start backing off because they're not coming up with any evidence that anything is around anyway, and people are beginning to doubt all the so-called evidence that we're being seen because it's not really evidence about anything. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now, guys. Let's just see. We'll just sort of mention it. And like I said, I only mention it because I believe this is a turning point for Boris Johnson. He either does a quick U-turn or he's not going to be around in a couple of months' time. Meanwhile, guys, I shall see you on the wind.